All right, in this video, we're going to speak primarily about coaching and helping our employees become the best at their job that they can be. Um, the biggest thing we want to talk about is the difference between managers versus a coach. Okay, now going back to our video about managers versus leaders, a manager manages things and leaders lead people. Okay, and so that's kind of what we also want to look at when we're thinking about managers versus coaches. So managers are those people that just sit back in the office and they manage things. They manage the day-to-day business, the operations. Coaches are looking for ways that we can improve the process and ways that we can remove barriers to effective performance for our team members and our employees. And so it's not always easy to do because sometimes as a manager, if you're trying to coach people, it may come off as a way of people just you telling them that they're not doing their job right. And that could cause resentment to you as a manager, which then, as we talk about communication, that closes that person off and they're not receptive to receiving any kind of a message. And so coaching, we really want to approach it from a perspective of helping our team members become better at what they're doing to improve so that they can do their job the best way possible. So generally we have three different types of employees. The first, who have no problem doing their job and they get it done on time. The second, they have issues doing their job, but then they go ask their managers for help. The third type is the people who have issues doing their job, but they don't ask for help. And so why don't they ask for help? Well, one, they may not feel comfortable. And so if we as a manager chastise other people for doing the wrong thing publicly, then that kind of creates a closed door policy, meaning that people don't feel comfortable to come talk to us. We want to have that open door policy where people can come talk to us with issues that they have. The other thing, it could create a negative image of the employee in the manager's mind. So they think that if I go ask for help, my manager is going to think that I don't know how to do my job, and that's going to affect my performance evaluation. Well, the reality is, if you don't know how to do your job and you don't go ask for help, when it comes time for your performance evaluation, guess what? You're going to be dinged on that. And so we really want to make sure that, again, people feel comfortable coming to ask us for help in order to provide them the best skills that they have to do their job the best. And then ultimately, the performance of the organization should increase as well. Some people also think they should figure it out by themselves. I know me personally, I am a kinesthetic learner. I learn best by doing things. And so oftentimes I won't ask for help because I think if I figure it out on my own, then it will stick better with me. And so with that being the case, well, my productivity might decrease and I may not even be doing it in the right way. And so we really want to make sure that people need to know that they can come ask for help. They don't need to figure it out for themselves. And then the last thing is it could cause a perception of other employees that you're trying to be buddy buddy with the boss. And so that could send the wrong message if you're just constantly asking for help. Now, that being said, if somebody is constantly asking for help on the same thing, then we need to go back to that coaching. Okay, we need to start talking about, okay, what can we do to improve this overall process so that you don't have to come and ask for help. So some managers think that it takes too much time to coach. It takes too much time to coach each person individually. A coaching session can last 5 minutes. It can last over a period of time. So it really kind of just depends on the employee. The other thing is that the employees might perceive that the managers are only focusing on the problems. They're constantly focusing on the problems, and that can kind of create a negative environment within the area. And so we want to make sure that as we're coaching, we're making sure that people understand that we're trying to improve the process. And so we can kind of go back to focusing on the positive that we talked about in that written communication chapter. We can focus on the positive, focus on things people are doing well, and then say, this is what we can do to improve, okay? Kind of like my thinking of, if I do it myself, it will help it stick in my mind better. Some managers think that that's the way that most people should do. They should figure it out on their own, because then that concept will stick better with them. Or we need to give that freedom for them to kind of create their way of doing things. That definitely can help, but again, productivity, as those people are trying to figure it out, productivity and profitability might suffer in the long run. All right, so feedback. Employees fail to perform based on 3 reasons. 1, they don't know how to do their job. 2, something or someone is keeping them from being able to do their job. And 3, they just don't want to do their jobs. Okay, and so we want to make sure that we are giving the appropriate feedback to foster an environment where people want to do their jobs, where they know how to do their jobs, and it is free of barriers for them to perform at their best ability. So these 4 different types of feedback send a specific message to our team members. So if we have silence, if we don't say anything, well, then our team members might perceive that as everything's going great and they don't need to change anything. And so it's really important that if something is going wrong, we need to speak up. We need to criticize any kind of undesirable behavior, things that are not going right. If somebody is consistently late for work, if somebody is consistently forgetting to ring in the steak temperatures, if somebody is consistently not bussing their tables, if in the hotel side, if a housekeeper is consistently not cleaning the room to standards, if the front office manager is consistently forgetting to get a physical swipe of a credit card, all these different things, mistakes that can happen. We want to criticize that. We want to be constructive about it. So again, that goes back to coaching, where we want to criticize, we want to give that feedback, but then we want to show examples of what we can do to improve. Okay. So we also want to give advice. So once we give criticism, we can't just give criticism and move on. We also want to give advice on how they can improve, okay? And that will change that behavior. Lastly is reinforcement. So if we have a desired behavior that people are doing, we want to use our feedback of reinforcement to continue that over a period of time. Now, as we prepare for a coaching session, we want to make sure we have a clear agenda, so all the points are specific to what we're going to cover. We want to communicate that agenda with our employees so they know exactly what we're going to be talking about, okay? As a manager, we want to clear our calendar, so we want to focus on that. And lastly, we want an area that's free from distractions. So we don't want to maybe meet in our office where we can be distracted by people coming in. We can be distracted by emails, the computer dinging with our emails coming in. We want to have a quiet place that we can have a focus. Maybe it's in the very back part of the restaurant where it's a slow lunch day and there's nothing going on in the back section of the restaurant. We can sit there. Yeah, we might have a little distractions of, hustle and bustle, people moving around, but if we're in that kind of back section, then that could also kind of create that more private, quiet setting that we can focus on the coaching session. And with that coaching session, we want to make sure that we put the employee, whether it's a group of employees or a single employee, we put them at ease. We want to use eye contact. We don't want to cross our arms and show that we have a negative body language. We want to have an open area so that they automatically put them at ease, that they're able to receive the message of coaching. We want to make sure that they are also part of the solution. And so we want to have them, what are your ideas? Here's the issue that we're facing. You keep forgetting, or we have a lot of remakes on steaks because servers are forgetting to ring in the meat temperature. What do you think we can do? What do you think you can do to eliminate that issue? And so getting them involved with the process makes them part of the solution and not part of the problem. Even though they might be part of the problem, but it kind of gets them thinking about how can I do this and gets them involved and has that buy-in of that result, rather than you just being authoritarian and saying, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. It gets them involved with it. So we want to make sure that we agree on what those appropriate goals are before we leave that session. And then we're going to develop an action plan. And what is that going to look like? Now, we have employees, we have team members with all different abilities. And so some people might be really receptive to coaching. Some people may not be very receptive to coaching. And so if you enter into a coaching session and all of a sudden you realize that you're dealing with someone who is not receptive to coaching, we might need to stop that session right away and think about, maybe kind of regather my thoughts as a manager. How can I approach this individual differently than, say, like a new server who is open to coaching and is open to suggestions? If you're working with a veteran server, they may not be super receptive. They may just be thinking that you're just being a manager that is just telling them how to do things your way. You really want to kind of get that buy-in so that they are invested in the process. All right, so employees tend to not ask for help because why? Good, all of those reasons. Last one, what should you do if you're conducting a coaching session and the employee becomes angry and argumentative? What should you do? We just talked about it. Good, you want to end that session, ask them to consider why they are reacting negatively, and then plan a second session. So if you figure out why they're acting negatively, then you can go back and revisit that agenda and make it fit more towards that individual.